Cronies first class, getting munchies and eating turkey bologna. If a nigga roll a Dutch in the room, we clutching the dude. We smoke the best here in the city of the president. Raw papers, even write sheets made by elements. If you ain't high now, then you feeling it by the second hit. Feel the wind breeze blow. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Man Cave. We are in the building. Thank y'all for joining us this Monday. First thing I want to do, the first order of business, is I want to give shouts out to Mr. Robert F. Smith. Investor, chemical engineer, investment banker, wealthiest African American in the country, surpassing Oprah, worth about, what did you say, $5 billion, I think it was?
Smell like money.
Chairman and CEO of a private equity firm, Vista Equity Partners, the 163rd richest person in America. Notice not man nor woman, but person in America. Number 480 on the Forbes list, and this is in 2018 for billionaires, with a net worth of $4.4 billion. That was in 2018. We just checked the numbers, and it looks like he's surpassed that now, and he's up to about $5 billion. So first, let me introduce the lady to my right, Miss Aqueelah. Aqueelah. Okay, I wasn't sure if I had it right. I think your last name is pronounced like Collier.
Collier.
Okay, so I was mixing the two. Right. But welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
I'm fine. I'm wonderful as well.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you for coming out and getting with us this evening. How do you feel about Mr. Smith and what he did this weekend? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that was awesome. It's a great way to give back. I think to whom much is given, much is required. So okay. I applaud him for his efforts.
Okay, that's cool. Well, I think a lot of people may not understand how the ramifications of what this man did. I mean, this is a whole graduating class of a college, you know, and for him to just pay the full tuition of everybody, like, this is just something we have to celebrate. It's something that we have to talk about, and, you know, I just wanted to make sure I put that out first and foremost. All right, so next, sit next to Miss Aqueelah. I said it right that time?
That's right.
Okay. Aqueelah. My main man in the building, Mr. Keynote Speaker himself, motivational speaker, my man Stan. What's going on, Stan?
What's going on, Dave?
How you doing today, man?
I'm blessed. I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Man, I really appreciate you coming out. You know,
yes,
we was in the works for a couple weeks, and, you know, I'm glad we were finally able to make it happen, man. How you doing today, man?
No complaints.
What do you feel about how you feel about this guy, man, Robert Smith?
Man, he just blessed the lives of so many people. Whenever somebody graduates, they literally look at face to face with the debt that they collected in college. And I know me personally, I was fortunate enough to have a full scholarship, but my sister, oh my goodness, she graduated from Baylor. Then went to law school, graduated from law school, and then I talked to her recently, and she's ready to get a master's in something else. But I'm like, she couldn't get a house because she had to rent. So I just think about my sister's struggle,
right? And
then hearing this information, I'm like, man, that literally changed the landscape of their future in the next 3 years, 5 years. And if you have a lot of debt, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So yeah, kudos to my man in Morehouse.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I heard about it. It was just like, I don't think people really understand, like, what's
the magnitude.
Like, yeah, this is going to be generational. You know, it's going to make a difference for a while. So, my man Suge.
Yo, boop, 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 boop. You know, I know what it is, man. How you doing today, man?
Man, how are you doing?
Happy Monday, blessed, man. I'm here another day, man. You know, we ready to get this podcast rocking. Got some beautiful faces in here. Some good topics coming up, you know what I'm saying? I'm waiting to get into it, do some deep dives and everything like that. So, welcome to the Man Cave, everyone.
Well, you know, today's highlight is going to be a lot about men and our relationships, and not only the things we do, but the things that we struggle with, you know, such as counseling and just, you know, kind of being accountable for each other. You know, I think we talked a little bit about that on the first show. So, you know, well, first I want to ask you about Mr. Smith, man. Like, you know, does that, I mean, that has to put some kind of motivation into you too.
It does, actually, you know, because I know a lot of people that went to college and that whole process, and a lot of times it's like the way that the whole system is set up, is you're in debt before you even get started in your career.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're facing like a $45,000, $50,000, maybe $75,000 student loan before you even get offered a job. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's like a good head start for anybody to get out there. And also it's just like a good way to kind of maybe the next future billionaire is in that group that can pay that one forward as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that class can do.
And that's funny, just you know, because you said the next future billionaire is probably in that group. Like that's an absolute, you know, hit the nail on the head type of a comment, you know, because you're right.
It's influential, man.
You're right.
Like,
I mean, and it's funny to me because I wonder how come, you know, more of our, you know, prominent individuals in our community don't do these type of things, you know. You know, I've seen Oprah give away cars, and I know she does a lot of philanthropy behind the scene that I probably have no clue about, and I'm not going to talk on the Queen. Love you, Oprah, all day. Hey, girl, you in the man cave today.
I'm saying Oprah has put many individuals through college.
Okay, tell me about it.
I can't tell you the exact number right now, but I think it was over 100 that she sent through Morehouse. She did over 10 million in scholarships. So she puts quite a few people through college, as well as opening the school that she had in Africa for young girls. So
yes, that's true.
She's very invested in education.
You know what I like about like these upcoming millionaires and actually billionaires is like they're investing into education now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like you kind of look at the things that a lot of these athletes before we would hear like maybe in the 90s and into 2000 they would go broke after their career's over or something like that. But you know, also speaking about athletes, a lot of the youth that are coming up, you don't have to be an athlete to make $1 million or to be a billion. You don't have to have that dream of being in the NBA or the NFL. You know what I mean?
Because of technology, it's a new wave. So people are starting to make millions of dollars just simply sitting at a computer all day. And then you have kids that don't necessarily need the skill set of going to college. And they can just pick up a trade and learn technology, and they can build an app in their basement. Right. So I think the resources to be able to give away $1 million is more, what's the word for this? I can say it's more attainable than it. I guess the opportunity is bigger. It's larger than what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Okay. Well, Stan, I want to stay with you for a second because I wanted to ask you a question.
I was about to pull on, man. This is a good clutch right here.
You played a little bit of ball. You played a little bit of ball, right?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you play at?
I played college at Sam Houston State University.
Okay. Cool. What position, man?
DB, cornerback, kick return, punt return.
What's up? Hey, now. Okay, we got a lot of kids in our community, and one thing I heard a really interesting excerpt from a man who was saying that we have millions of kids all trying out for 700 jobs.
Yes,
that last 3 months.
Right.
That with a shelf life of 3 years. You know, so like, what kind of advice would you give to the athlete that's struggling in school, the college athlete, about, you know?
Hold on, and let me add on to that. When you were younger, did you have aspirations of going to the NFL as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think you'd be normal if you didn't. Like everybody in the neighborhood wanted to go. But no. So what you're referring to was the amount of jobs in the NFL. So 700 jobs, and the average NFL life expectancy is about 3 years.
I think it's more than 700 though, but I understand what you're saying.
I'm just clarifying so that everyone knows what you're talking about. So a kid would be able to literally, so everything that a kid has done building up to this is like waking up in the morning, thinking about what you're going to do today, going to football practice, and then repeating it every day consistently and putting together a regimen because your ultimate aspiration is to go to the NFL.
Right.
And you're going through the motions at school. You know what I mean? Football is not going through the motions. Football is real critical for a kid. So for me, I went through the motions at school, but I was smart enough to not have to not study all the time and cram and pass a test. And with football, it was like I have to go consistently. So I told you about my sister earlier. My sister studied, magna cum laude, smart. And then me on my end, it was just all sports. And I saw the difference, and I saw how we put a huge we make sure that football or sports, those scholarships come and take care of full rides, and then academic scholarships are not as They're not giving them away as fast as they're giving away these athletic scholarships. So for kids, that's literally where they're going. And some kids are like, man, this is my ticket out. You know, or the parents are like, this is my ticket out. But really, we should be focusing on education and academics, because once you get to the point where you realize that you're not going to the NFL,
right,
what are you going to do? So for the kid today, focus on your education, focus on a trade, focus on a skill set that you're going to be able to utilize to make you money, because football is not going to happen for everybody.
Right. It's a very small percentage of kids that will make it to the level that they want, you know, because I played for years too, but I mean the actual level that you want. I like that shirt, by the way.
Thank you. But what's good about football is it teaches the kids skills.
Right. So is this from your company?
Yes.
You made that.
This is a t-shirt that I made.
Tell us a little bit about your company.
So this shirt in particular, I literally just thought about this, man. I say be effective all the time. When I'm leaving somewhere, instead of saying bye, I should say be effective, right? So we should be effective everywhere we go. We should be able to touch somebody and make a positive influence. So I thought about a line of shirts. So I call it the B line with my company. I have a screen printing or t-shirt printing company called Cool Ink. So we've been in business for about 6-7 years. And this B line is simply be great, be effective, be thorough. So I just released a different shirt that has something to do with being something. I think that most of the time we're not present because we're so busy as human beings. We can never just sit there and be something. And I think that we miss the opportunity of being present and embracing where we are because we move around so much. So be effective is just like always be effective. No matter what you're doing, be present and be effective.
Right. Okay. So Miss Aqueelah, I wanted to come to you. Yeah, I did say that right?
Yes.
Hi, Aqueelah.
Sure. Hey.
So, with you doing a lot of your work, well, first of all, what is your job title? Let's talk about that.
I'm a licensed clinical therapist.
Stop looking at my questions.
All up in the Kool-Aid.
Well, I was just observant. So I am a licensed clinical therapist, and I am in private practice, and I see individuals that deal with depression, anxiety, relationship issues, anything from psychosis, suicide ideation, and so forth. So just mental health altogether.
Okay, so saying this lightly, I'm sure you probably get a lot of our misguided youth. Do you work with youth as well?
I do.
A lot of those guys may be prominent in football. It seems to kind of go hand in hand a little bit. I'm trying to say that as lightly as possible. So what are the common traits that you see in males in general, in particular, especially young men, when it comes to temper and things like that we need to kind of stress?
Well, let me speak on two things. So first, about the football, I see a lot of young men that come into the office and football is their life goal. And recently, a couple of them have received an injury, and they feel like that may impede their life goal of becoming this NFL player or what have you. What I'm not seeing is parents showing them their other talents. Academically and other things that they may find interest in and may be just as great at. And so I like that you put emphasis on education, because so often we're not doing that. And so I have young people that are coming to me now devastated because this is their senior year and they're not able to play.
Right.
So I think we have to have a balance when it comes to sports.
Okay, well, I got a couple questions for both of you guys from the audience members, and I didn't get the actual names on them on who asked these questions. If you did ask these questions and you happen to be watching to get the answers to the questions that you wanted, just make a comment in the comment section. We'll get back to, and I'll let everybody know who made it. But what is counseling and what is not? That would be a question I would ask you.
What is counseling and what is not? Let me say, what counseling is not is someone telling you how to run your life. It's not someone having a magic wand telling you, okay, you're better, everything's gonna be great. It's not someone removing all the barriers to your life and giving you an easy way. What therapy is an individual who's trained and educated and skilled in partnering with you and giving you coping skills and tools to manage your life, giving you a mirror, if you will, reflection of what you're going through and helping you to look through that yourself and come up with the best answers for yourself. So it's a support system. It's someone to partner with you and help you cope through life.
Okay.
Does it have to be like on a professional level? It can be like, hey girl, this is something I gotta talk to you about. Like, would you consider that type of counseling? You know
That's
what I
not
mean?
counseling.
Okay.
That's your home girl giving you support and encouragement. That's quite different. A licensed therapist is going to give you clinical tools, techniques and strategies, and help you sometimes dissect how you got to the mindset that you're in. And that may be delving back all the way to your childhood.
So what would you tell AYESHA Curry?
What would you tell her? I want to hear what you would tell her.
I tell her, be happy. Don't worry. She's straight, man. She got that.
You see that meme, AYESHA?
I'm just saying, she got the life every woman want, you know.
Okay, so
but I do understand her though. See, I kind of get it because, dude, everybody wants to be wanted. You know, I don't care if you're married. I don't care if you're in a monogamous relationship or whatever kind of relationship. Everybody wants to be desired. All women want to be desired. All men kind of want to look good and feel powerful, and all of us want that. Right. So I didn't think it was far-fetched as everybody made it. You know,
it goes to show you that she's human.
Right,
Because she
absolutely.
has a famous husband, she still desires attention. She seeks attention, so she has to get it from her husband. And marriage is a work in progress. It's an ongoing thing.
So you think that was a light shot at Curry for that one, or what? At her husband for that?
I don't think so because she said it in a setting where it's like the red table talk is kind of like this podcast. You know, it's like.
That was a light shot.
It was a light shot.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, if you ask Steph today, he feels like if you can get inside his mind, he'll feel like, man, that kind of hurt me a little bit.
What did you hear her say exactly?
I didn't hear it. I just.
What did you?
I just seen the remnants of it.
Yeah, I couldn't quote.
I heard it.
What did you hear her say?
What she said is all of these women are always coming at him.
Yep.
All of these Instagram chicks, these models on the sideline with their breast out, they always coming at him. And she's sitting here like, well, what about me? I don't never get nobody coming at me.
Right.
Which for number one, it means that men respect
It's
Steph
a
Curry.
respect thing.
You know what I'm saying? Because any dude who knows, like, you know, a man, you're respected, you're not going to come at his wife or say, exactly, you know, so that's a respect thing first and foremost. So I kind of understood what she was saying because I just believe all women want that, you know. And I messed up and made a Facebook page post that got me, you know, I'm always getting in trouble on Facebook because I'm objective, you know, and I'm one of them type of people that I always want to kind of play devil's advocate sometime. And I wrote up there, I said, man, look, everybody want to be wanted, you know, that's why, you know, sex sells. This is why, you know, women wear bikinis to show boxing matches. And this is why you turn on ESPN and it's a beautiful woman there. It's never no butch joint there talking about the football game. You know, they in the locker room with makeup on and like, this is real life. Like we can try to hide it and sweep it under the rug, but this is real life.
So Aqueelah, do you think, will you, if you were in a relationship like Steph Curry, would you ever make a comment or a statement like that? Like, you know what I mean? Like feeling like, hey, I need more attention. I don't know. From a man's point of view, I still feel strongly like that's a shot at me. Like, man, I'm not doing enough for my wife. My woman, she's somewhere I'm lacking. You know what I mean? So do you think that statement was appropriate?
That's like a self thing. No, that's like a self.
I'm talking from a counseling perspective.
It is.
Like,
it is. It's a little bit deeper, but at the same time, on the surface, you have to understand that someone has to want. You have to always be desired by your husband, and if your husband takes on that role of traveling all the time, playing basketball, that comes along with it. So she already understands that. Yeah. My husband is a famous NBA basketball player. I'm not going to see him all the time, so she's not going to get all the attention that she desires. That's how that's how Jody stepped in. You know what I mean? Like that's really what happens.
Sport coat get in the room real quick. And
it can happen to anybody.
What?
Nobody.
Who you telling?
Anybody.
Man, I'm trying to tell you, I'm the poster boy of it.
Hold on, Aqueelah, what advice would you give her?
I think it's a matter of perception.
Okay.
I think that what you all heard
I
may have
agree with
been
her.
completely different
Look,
from what
stop
her
it.
intention was. I think there wasn't enough content said for us to really say what her intention was.
Sure.
But I do think we can gather that she was speaking on the amount of attention that he receives, and it
Right.
does not give him a pass because he's a basketball player or a professional or what have you, that he receives all this attention and in some ways neglects her. So
Yeah.
I think that was just an opportunity for her to speak up and say, hey, I'm here, right? So he may need to do more of a job of making sure that she's more on his side and not in the background.
Do you think
Right.
she's wrong for addressing it in the media and not talking to him one-on-one?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're in the media, so
How do we know she
things-
didn't know?
Something
They're not,
that too.
they're not in the media
They're
having pillow
public.
talk. You know what I mean? So
They're public people.
But she was
so
on
things
Jada
are-
Pinkett's thing though, Red Table
Yeah.
Talk, and that's
that's where that came up.
yeah, that's
supposed to be a
that's
safe
one of
place.
those platforms that's asking for those underlying
Right.
things, you know
So
what I'm
they're
saying?
crying for. They were okay.
Exactly, yeah, you know. So
I would have.
hey, I wanna ask you a question here, Miss Aqueelah. What is mental health? And the reason I'm asking you this is because I believe that we are even touching on a little bit of the issues that have to do with men with their pride and ego when it comes to
Touchy.
another woman, another man, and you know what I'm saying, being in the picture. Like,
Absolutely.
is that a mental health thing, or is this just a primal freaking this is what men do type thing? Like, I'm not a firm believer of toxic masculinity. You said it around me, I'm going to want you to break that down and explain it. You know, because I believe that men should be men, i.e. the man cave is the show we on. You know, I believe that there's, and I want to talk to you too, because I know about the classes you're going to break up in the next week. But back, just want to ask you, what is mental health?
Well, mental health is, you can compare it to like physical health. Physical health has to do with everything with your body. Mental health has to do with everything with your mind and your emotions. And some of that comes to be from your environment, how you grew up, what things were taught to you. Some of it has to do with chemistry in your brain, and some of it has to do with, you know, just your everyday being.
Okay.
And so I think that mental health is on a spectrum, right? So when we think about it, we can't say like, this person has a mental illness and this person does not.
Right.
We all lie on the spectrum of mental health.
This is going to be one of my little issues, and I'm going to let you give your synopsis of what this is in a second, Stan. But this is going to be my problem. Where is the line? Where's the line between you're crazy and he just a little mentally off, and like, where's the line between nah, he got a point, and nah, you got mental health issues? Because it just seems like in today's society, everything needs a reason, everything needs a explanation, everything has to have a cause behind it. It's like, oh, your son is wild and he's running around. Oh, he has ADHD. Well, how about he's just a boy and he's running
From what
around?
Stan is telling me, light-skinned dudes have all the issues.
Is that it?
Sound like light-skinned problems.
Light
man.
skin issues.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Hey, hold on. Hey, light skinned brothers coming back.
Hell no,
We
no.
coming back nowadays. But no, seriously, where's the line?
Well, first off, we're not going to use the word crazy.
Okay. All right. We can't use crazy.
Can't use crazy.
Some
Two,
people are crazy though.
Well, not in the spectrum of mental health, right? So we shouldn't say crazy in the
Explain
spectrum of
that.
mental health, because if a person has a mental illness, they have a mental illness. That means something is
Okay.
a little bit challenging for them.
They
So
retarded or something. What? I'm sorry, not that.
Now
word.
you're gonna get disrespectful. We not.
I
Gonna
didn't
use
mean
retarded.
it. No, but that's a real word though.
It is not. It is intellectually disabled.
Oh, we done made up a word for that
No, we
too.
didn't make it up. You might
It
pull out
probably
my
changed in
DSM-5,
2020.
brother.
You know, you gotta watch what we say
Okay.
nowadays.
All right. I don't.
So-
I never heard of that.
Intellectually disabled.
You just taught me.
Yes, we're not gonna say retarded.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
It's
What's
just
the other
like
word
we're
for
not
it?
saying
It's
we're not
slow?
saying colored
No,
anymore,
it's-
right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
We don't say.
So we
color.
have evolved. We have learned.
Okay.
All right.
So say it one more time. Intellectually, what?
Intellectually disabled.
I was still saying that word. I ain't gonna say it.
I never heard of that.
Right, I never heard of it. But go ahead.
So you said, what is the difference between a boy just being a boy and then having a mental health diagnosis, right? So a boy just being a boy, that can just look like him being aggressive and playful and active and all those things. But when it starts to impede on his education, his everyday survival, if it's a challenge for him to get up and do regular routine things, then that's when we know that there may be a little bit something more to it, and that's when there needs to be an assessment and some testing. ADHD is one of those things that it can show up in different ways. If the child is always having issues in school, behavior-wise, or just not being able to stay on task, or has a hard time transitioning from subject to subject, or coming in from recess, or different things like that. So we have to pay more attention to the mental health, because we are too often labeling things as, oh, he's just a boy. Oh, she just likes to fight. Or this is just how that person is. Oh, that's just Uncle Joe. Stay away from him.
Right,
He's a pedophile.
Right,
so we have to address
that's totally different.
Mental illness. It's not, because it's one of those things that.
So pedophile is a mental illness now, too. Is that what you would say?
I would say it is.
Okay. So what about a good old-fashioned ass whooping? Like, does that work nowadays?
You know what I mean?
I'm just asking.
So I think physical discipline, spankings.
Oh, okay. We got a new word for that too. These
are necessary.
Let's change the whole thing up. You know what I mean?
Physical discipline.
We're not changing it up. Listen, though, spankings are necessary. I feel personally in certain situations. But if a person has a mental illness, you can give them a spanking three times a day. If he has ADHD, that's not a spanking solution. That's a therapy and medication solution.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of fun with it, so don't mind me.
It's okay.
Like, Bobby, come on, so you can get this physical discipline.
Understand, like going back into that position, like in your football days, like I'm pretty sure, like you might have encountered like extra aggressive, maybe teammates on your team or something like that might have been broken down to maybe suffering from some mental issues, maybe things happening back home. As an older person looking back on yourself, would you be able to, like, would you recommend talking to that teammate and recommending them, like, hey, maybe you should go speak to a counselor such as Aqueelah? Like, how would you relate that to, like, sports and, like, counseling? Like,
those are the best people you want on your team.
Yeah, I know.
But I disagree with, like you said, that everyone is quick to say that he's just a boy, or I think that everyone's quick to say he has ADHD. Like, I think it's the opposite. I think that we're handing out these diagnoses, and boys, most of them just, have you looked at the symptoms for ADHD?
Yeah.
Impulsive, like lack of attention, like you can't focus, like that's me.
Right, yeah, me too. Me too.
And on a given day, that's everybody in here. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we're quick to diagnose someone with ADHD, and then they have medication.
See, I agree with you, Stan, and I'm going where you're going, because I agree with that too.
Let me say this. African Americans are 20% more likely to have a mental illness than any other race.
Right.
So we are the most
Where are these stats at? You're going to come.
She said the most diagnosed, right?
We are 20% more likely to have a mental illness than any other race. And most of that is undiagnosed because of our cultural beliefs.
Yeah, we don't go.
Because we will accept HIV, we will accept cancer, we will accept all these other diseases, and we will go out and spend all of our money and make sure that our family members are okay. But when it comes to mental illness, everybody's like, no, not me.
That is true. And then a lot of times we won't go see counseling because we have to admit that something's wrong with us.
Now, right there.
But real quick,
why? Why do men, why do we push away
because
from
we were taught that we had to have it all together.
Right.
We were taught that we had to be Superman. We had to be the man of the house. Like, we can't show no weaknesses. So when you have to admit that you had a problem, think about it. We don't go to the doctor until we're almost dead.
You're right.
As a man, because you have to literally say something is wrong with me. I'm incapable of performing how I need to operate. Right. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get away from that because it almost sounded like performing like I need to perform.
Right. No. I mean, you're right though. I agree with you 1,000% on one. I feel like a lot of these medications and the stuff that we're prescribing and we're diagnosing everybody with everything, I believe there's something we need to slow down with that.
That's true. And think about the difference between in education. I believe there's over 70% of white female teachers versus, and there's only like what 3% of
male.
Yeah. Right. So think about this: if little Jimmy is acting up in class, she has a little Jimmy at home. Yeah. She knows how to deal when little Jimmy acts up. But for an African American child, that looks different to her. Like his acting up is totally different. She doesn't know how to cope with it or how to calm him down. So he's going to the principal's office or he's getting detention or a timeout, and eventually it creates a bad name for him, and they just say, "Oh, he needs medication."
Yeah.
Well, teachers do not diagnose, and it's not up to teachers to say if a child is on medication. Now,
can they recommend it?
We do need to listen to teachers because they are with your child 8 hours a day, and they can tell you some of the things that are going on. Now, I can say every teacher or every school may not be looking out for your child's best interest, but in most situations they are. And if you feel like you're in a situation where they're not giving your child what they need, then parents need to show up. Right. I show up on a weekly basis and be involved in that classroom setting and see what is triggering your child. It could be that the teacher is triggering your child. It could be the environment. And so we cannot rely on teachers to say, hey, your child has a problem. You need to be present and see what's going on with your child and then seek help. Get an assessment by a clinician to say, okay, this is what we're seeing at school, this is what we're seeing at home, and then let them make the recommendation.
And this is why we brought you in here.
Or disagree with the recommendation.
Right. So that's what I'm asking, because the recommendation, the teachers cannot diagnose, but the teacher can go to
They are teachers. They are not clinicians. They are teachers.
They can go to the principal and do a recommendation.
The principal cannot recommend any diagnosis for your child. The principal is there to oversee whatever the teachers are doing in the classroom.
So how does someone get put on ADHD? The medicine, ADHD?
They have to go to the doctor. The only person that can prescribe your child is ADHD medication. Not even a therapist can. It has to be a psychiatrist.
Right. So you don't think there's no recommendations going on in that school?
I'm not saying that they're not.
They are.
Now,
they are, because the special ed recommendations come along with it.
There has to be a clinical evaluation even before special ed. But I'm just saying this as a parent, right? Because I'm not only a clinician, but I am a mother. And I do have a son that has ADHD, and he does have ADHD diagnosis and take medication. And we did not accept that lightly.
See, I beat mine.
And so that means I show up in the classroom. That means
hold on one second. Hold on one second, because we got a teacher in the building. Go ahead.
All right, we are not able to diagnose. We are not able to recommend. Now, if a parent comes to us and say, because there's so many incidents that's happening in class, we may say, let's have a special meeting to find out what's going on with your child. Now, we will recommend that we have certain coping skills that the child may go through. We may have to put them on, sometimes I have students right now, they have a ball that they sit on and bounce on. The whole entire class. Now, it's disturbing other kids, and some kids it don't, but that's only a coping skill. We can't say, your child has ADHD, even though we're thinking it, but we can't say that.
And what she's speaking to is accommodations.
Exactly.
The schools are allowed to give children accommodations if they are not able to just sit for 8 hours a day, which most kids are not able to sit 8 hours. And so that's where reasonable accommodations. And if those are not useful and those are not helpful, they may say, hey, we're doing everything we can. You may want to look at some other alternatives. But the parent has to be present. They have to know their child. They have to be involved, because no one can give your child a label. No one can give your child a diagnosis or medication without you agreeing and signing. They can't put your child in special ed without you agreeing and signing. So a lot of the responsibility lies on the parent.
And a lot of these parents right now, like working and some single moms working 2 jobs.
It's okay.
I agree.
But you still are a parent first. So I've been a single parent. I'm married. I have 2 or 3 jobs, right? Yeah. But when it comes to our children, you have to be present. And clinicians, as I said before, we partner with the parent. Yeah. We partner with the individual to help them meet their goals.
So how long do you normally see a child through? Like, are you just sitting a child for like that one particular instance, or are you doing follow-up all the way through graduation and to adulthood? Like, how does that work?
Each person has an individualized treatment plan, right? One person may come in because they're depressed about a breakup, Okay, we may process that and work through that, build some skills around that, and during that process, we may uncover other things that the child has low self-esteem, or is being bullied at school, or has anxiety. Whatever those issues are, we work until we get some resolve, so we get the goals met, till that individual is happy with where they are.
Okay,
so
I think we touched enough on the kids.
Okay.
By the way, my son goes to counseling, so I know.
My son got counseling too. It's called
okay.
this right here and this left right here. That's my son counseling. My son counseling right here.
You know what I find interesting? This is kind of like a little bit of changing the topic a little bit, but I think a lot of stuff can, I don't know how to really explain it, but like sitting down at the table and having dinners together, I think that can fix a lot.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Because you're intuitive and you're listening to their day. Like with my kids, I have 3 kids. I have a 10-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, right? And we sit down and we eat dinner at the dinner table. And the first thing that I ask is, "How's your day? Tell me something good.
Yeah.
What happened?" And sometimes my 10-year-old is like, "It was good." You know, he doesn't say much. But then I just go back from what he told me the day before. So how are you and so and so? And then he understands that I'm actually listening to him, and he gives more information. He feeds on me. But not just that, also being able to share with him what went wrong in my day.
Yeah.
Because
being
now he sees.
Sometimes that matters a lot.
Yeah. Now he sees that, daddy's not Superman. Oh, well, I can share something about myself that wasn't so good. And I think that it's important.
I think you just answered Kiki's question, which was how can we teach or motivate our young boys to talk through their feelings without shame or embarrassment? And that came from Keandra. Well, Kiki, are you riding? They came from Kiki. So,
that's a really good point.
Answered
So I was going to say with that, a lot of times previously in the past, fathers were not having those conversations. Right. It was just do this or do that, right? So there wasn't an open dialogue. So we didn't encourage young men to express their feelings. We made them feel shamed by talking about their feelings and their emotions. And so that really has to change, because when a person doesn't express how they feel and what they're thinking, then it can come out in other ways, in anger, depression, other things like that. So, I mean, I'm really glad to hear that you're doing that with your children, and that makes a huge difference, because most of the times when I'm in family sessions, the huge problem is communication. Right. And it's dads not listening.
Because there's not a space. You have to create a space, like we set rules, like no technology, one person talks at a time, and you have to be present. You literally have to be present. The kids have to be present so that they can listen to one another. And I go to my 2-year-old and ask her, "How was your?" And just so that she can get in the habit or in the routine of responding and giving me feedback. She may just say, "Oh, baby Jay, he threw up," or something that's. But we listen to her, and she understands that. So by the time she turns 5, she's gonna be good. She's gonna be used to expressing herself to daddy. My situation is a little bit different because my wife goes to school at night, so I'm with the kids.
And this is what I want to know, because I want to piggyback on that. First of all, I want you to explain what solid is, and you can do this in any way you want, first or second. But I also want to know about the actual speaking engagement that you have scheduled about taking care of another man's child. How did you stumble across this, and tell us a little bit about it?
So, well, really solid. I'll start with solid. I can start there. So solid is, I found myself in I grew up playing sports, right? Then I had, people in the street around me. I was always raised around boys.
And used to rap with the road a little bit.
Rap with Charlie Ward. I used to be on the road all the time, and so I'm always around men, right? And then when I got a little bit older, I realized that. Do you know that by age 30, there's like 93% of men that do not have a best friend that they can share something with that holds them accountable? And I didn't have anybody around me. When I was in the world, I could call somebody and I could say, "Man, let's go meet up at the bar, then we're gonna hit the strip club," whatever. But I'm saved, ordained, all that. Now it's like, you can't get men together. Now that we have families, so a man only thinks about his work, his wife, and his children. And we're losing our ability to sharpen other men because we're just taking care of responsibilities. So what I say is, man, I have to find out a way to get men from their everyday routine and get men together, because iron sharpens iron. If you're not around any iron, you're not getting sharp. Right. Women do an excellent job of getting together, socializing, going to sip and learn, women empowerment brunch, but men aren't doing it. So I just grabbed a group of solid men. I discipled like 3 of them, I believe, and put this circle of influence together where we literally mold each other. Like we groom each other. We have like charge calls where we pray consistently, and then we have like a goal call where we set goals on Sunday, and then at the end of the week we follow up and we ask each other, have you met your goals?
Make sure you drop your website while you talk. Go ahead.
So with that being said, we said, well, this accountability circle has worked so well for us. We want to make sure that other men can do the same thing. So we're gonna start having community events, because initially God told me, Stan, I want you to spread this and invite other men in your circle. And then I had an epiphany, and God told me, this is why you have to consistently listen to God, right? Because Isaac would have knocked down, Abraham would have killed Isaac if he didn't, right? So as you listen, God said, no, you're going to lose transparency and vulnerability within your circle if you invite outsiders in this circle, because these men have spent 6 months with one another. So I said, you have to show other men how to create their own accountability circle.
Right.
You're going to do this by hosting community events and building a band of solid men. And then men can find other men that can help sharpen them, and we can lift ourselves up, because women do an excellent job at that, but men do not.
Right. So about this, how to raise another man's child and the dynamic of that relationship, and also a blended family.
How did you get that information? That was like...
I do my research.
I haven't even put that out yet.
I do a little bit of
we're doing an event on Father's Day for sons without their fathers in their lives. That's how to raise another man's child is, man.
I've been through
it. Been looking at? No, I'm saying, so
I'm just saying. Look, let me give you a little background on me. I'm 40 years old, and
I'm in the FBI.
I don't think anybody even knows this, but I'm 40 years old. I have a stepson that is 22 years old. And he is my dog. I haven't talked to him in a while because he's in DC, but Devon, if you out there, love you, brother. That's my stepson. Right. I have a daughter who is 19. I have a son who is 16 who plays saxophone. He's one of the best saxophone players in the state of Texas. He a beast. And then I have that one, which is the baby, and he's 14. You know what I'm saying? And so
They don't watch TV, if y'all.
I raised. You know what I'm saying? I've been a dad for a very long time, Doesn't seem that way sometimes with my demeanor and things like that, but I have been through the ringer with, I've been on both sides. I've been on the side where I was raising another man's son, and I've been on the side where it was another man coming into my life who was trying to raise my daughter, and so I've been on both sides. And this can be a really tough place for us men, because mentally we have this primal instinct to try to run off the other bull. You know what I'm saying? The other alpha male in the room, we want to run them off. And it's a primal instinct. It's not something that we can really. We can try to get a hold of it, but it's just there. You know what I'm saying? No matter how nice you want to be, you want to buck up your chest and look at the dude and grin him up and down. But how do we get past that? Like, how do you work through that?
Well, first of all, like me personally, my experience was a little bit different so I came into my son's life real early. So my son, or stepson, I'm calling him, this is my son, when he was 3 years old. So it's a little bit easier for me, but his dad is actively involved in his life. And for me, I had to literally sit back and say, look, I'm not trying to take dad's position. I'm a bonus dad to you, and you're in my house, so you're going to respect the rules in my house. I think the first thing starts with, what does he call you? And you can't call me Stan, because now you've already lost some respect with me by the way that you recognize me.
Right.
So we established that. He calls me Pops, right? But knowing that we have to tell my son that, look, you are blessed to have two fathers. Most kids don't have one father. So you're blessed. And then for me to get on one accord with his father, and we bumped heads about disciplining him in ways that we operate, because we're two different, we're polar opposites, right? But I think the most important thing was to show a unified front in front of my son. So regardless if we disagree, I can't do it in front of him. So he's 10 years old now.
I think that's one of the hardest things that we have to, that we have to overcome sometimes, man, is when you meet a woman and she has a child, and the first thing you think about is like, what's this?
You gotta deal with another man.
You know what I'm saying? Like, cause
it's the long run. You sign up for the long run.
And then you gotta deal with the maturity level of the other person as
right,
well.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Because his ego might not be completely in check.
He might not be the same.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like you have to adjust. Like if you're mature enough to come in and do the whole stepdad role, then you have to be able to mature enough to know, like, I'm going to have to deal with this man.
Right.
But, you know, it kind of brings me back in my younger days, I used to express myself, and I'm pretty sure you guys did too. Like, we used to express ourselves because we probably didn't have the words. It was through action. Right. You know what I mean? That's why we're out there running around in the streets and everything like that, doing things we're not supposed to be doing. But as you get older, you start to find the different words to say. But like, listen, I need to be able to articulate myself the right way.
Exactly.
I can basically tell this dude to go screw himself without me basically saying, fuck you. You know what I mean? But basically, I'm standing my ground. I'm also giving him the respect to say whatever he got to say back. And then whatever the pieces fall, that's where they fall. But we have to respect each other from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so like as men, I want to try to get through a couple of these topics in this last 15 minutes, but definitely one of the things I want to ask about when it comes to mental health and men in today's society is going to be sexually related. Ooh. And I want to ask y'all this because you guys are the professionals, Miss Lady and Sir, Mr. Keynote. Y'all got the answers. So this is my question. You know, you got young boys who are growing up in today's society. I mean, women are basically, you can go shopping for a woman on Facebook. You can go shopping for a woman on a lot of these apps. You can go shopping for a man. How do we get to the point where it's like, you know, this one right here is good for me? You know, with all of these other options, you know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of stuff is this doing to our brain? You know, what kind of dopamine is this sending to us that is actually, you know, messing around with our community, so to speak? Because we got all of these relationships that are going to the wayside. People are breaking up every day over social media. People, you know, what can we do to kind of help that? You know, mental health is what I'm trying to, you understand where I'm going with it?
I understand. First thing you should do is limit your social media.
Okay.
And get in tune with yourself, because you can have all the options in the world, but true happiness comes from within. Yeah. So you have to be happy with yourself, and that means getting to know yourself, getting to know your faults, getting to know what your expectations are in life, and really try to build a recipe, if you will, for yourself of what you want your life to be like and what type of person you want in your life.
So let me ask you a personal question about me, right? So, you know, I went through a pretty terrible time in my life not too long ago, but, you know, I had to kind of realize that I had never learned how to love myself. You know, what is that called in your, like, is there a term for that, like, for people who just have never learned how to actually love yourself? You know what I'm saying? Is there's, because you got new words for everything else, so I want
loving yourself is called masturbation.
Yeah, you're right. Well, in that case, I learned how to love myself long ago.
You learn how to pleasure yourself.
Nah, seriously though, I feel like a lot of young men, a lot of 30-year-old men, a lot of 35-year-old men we never learn how to love ourselves. Yeah. Because I was a father at a young age for such a long time. It's kind of like, you know, you just kind of forget about yourself after a while. You know, I realized after. And this is wild. Like, I'm just going to put this out there, though. This is probably my first time getting personal on this podcast, but I guess the topic calls for it. But I realized a long time ago that the only time I bought my own self clothes was when I was shopping for my kids. And I went through this for about 16 years. And I went out one day and bought myself jeans and cried in the store, man. Realizing that, wow, like, this is the first pair of jeans I bought myself. Wow. Because I wanted to buy a pair of jeans for myself. Wow. Not because I was just at the store and I'm shopping for them and I'm like, you know, it's a pair of jeans here. I'm going to go and get myself one too.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was like, wow, like, I've been doing all this time, you know? Like, we got a lot of men out here that's suffering from that. Don't look at me like that.
I'm listening.
You've been in the same jeans
I'm
for 16
sorry.
years.
I'm
Did you at least
listening
wash
to
those
you,
jeans, man?
Hey, look.
I'm just looking at you.
No, it's not that I had one.
It's okay.
But that was the first pair of jeans I bought myself. You know.
Then the style came back around.
So,
Jeans were popular.
So see, this is what happens. The man shares his heart, and then you guys criticize him.
Get that! Get him!
Allow him to express himself. Allow him to be vulnerable for a little bit.
See, that's why I knew I should have had her on the show. You motherfuckers don't care about nothing but yourself. Get that!
Jokes on, but he know we love him though, man. You know, we gotta give him shit
all
first.
love.
That's how we do it though. We give him shit first, and then we kind of come back and like, you know, we.
Hey, look.
As long as you come back and give him
But
love,
seriously, a lot of us men are going through this situation where we kind of need to learn to love ourselves.
That's true.
We need to look. We're so. I look on Facebook all day, and it's always, oh, woman this, oh, give me this, oh, buy me that, oh, you need to do this. Like, nobody is ever looking out for men. Nobody. You know, I mean, from the AYESHA Curry situation, it's like, you go, girl, you ask people to look for you, but if a man said the same thing, you'd be blowing holes in his back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nobody wants to look out for the men. And we got Ariana Grande. Who the hell are you? Hold on. You calling for a fucking sex ban over Alabama law? Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Ariana
let's
Grande.
go back to your question.
Yeah, she came out talking about she wanted a sex ban. She wanted all the women to ban sex from the men because the Alabama abortion bill passed.
Gotcha.
Well, listen.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let that go. I want fans for the show, and I don't want to lose them. So I'm
Okay, so I think to your original question, I think that comes up in a lot of different ways for different men. It just depends on what their upbringing was and where they first lost love, right? Some men I find have emotional detachment. Right? They were not given the space to be vulnerable and shown how to love and how to express love, or they may not have been given love in a way that they needed to receive.
Right.
So how can I expect you to love if you have not been given love? Right?
Ooh.
So we have to start with ourselves and look inside ourselves and see how we came to be the person that we are. And that goes back to, I know it's cliche, but it goes back to your upbringing, it goes back to your childhood, what has been poured into you. Because what has been poured into you is usually what comes out of you.
Where'd you grow up at?
Alabama.
Where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in Arkansas. Thank
Oh,
you very much.
damn.
Okay, all right, that's what's up. Arkansas.
Okay,
How long you been here in
I'm
Texas?
a Dallas native, but I grew
Okay.
up in Arkansas.
That
and,
doesn't make sense.
So,
How you gonna be a Dallas native?
probably
and grow up in
bi-regional.
Arkansas? You gotta explain.
well, I got this one. First of all,
Yeah, it's the man
I
cave.
don't
You know
have
what I'm
to
saying?
I don't have to get personal with nobody. I'm gonna
No,
tell
you
you.
don't gotta get personal. I just need to
I'm
know
a
how
Dallas
native.
native.
Okay.
I began my life in Dallas.
Okay.
At some point,
grew
I
up in-
transferred
Okay.
to Arkansas. I grew up in a small, wonderful town, and then
Lake
I came.
Village?
Cool.
And then I joined the military and came back to Texas.
Yeah, you're an Army girl, right?
And I am an Army veteran, combat veteran.
What's up? That's
All
what's
right,
up.
what'd you
What
go-
was your? Yeah, go ahead. What you got?
What was your MOS?
Chemical, nuclear, biological specialist.
Oh shit.
She did the gas chamber.
Mm-hmm. So you got pepper spray before? How'd you like
All of
that?
that.
How'd
All
you
of
like
that.
it?
I loved it.
For real? Oh, you a savage.
Hold on, you got your
Savage out here,
VA
shit.
disability?
You in my business?
I was asking you
Yeah, my
VA.
business.
Okay,
He got hit.
You gotta
He
ask
got
me
hit.
in that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're not getting your VA
I'm
disability,
good.
okay.
I'm good. I'm a
She's
combat veteran.
good.
All right, that's all. That's all.
Yeah.
Make sure all my
And
veterans
I do serve my fellow veterans at my clinic, Therapeutic Transitions.
Drop that.
I
What's the
help.
website?
I help individuals, especially veterans, transition from being military or veteran status into civilian life, because there is a whole transition that goes on with that.
It's tough, man. It's really tough.
And people don't always recognize that. They don't always know that that's there. They think you just come back and you're okay. Well, you can't go through, like I did, 18 months in war and be the same person you were before. So there's a whole transition.
Thank you for your service, first off.
You're welcome, and thank you for your support.
What war did you serve in?
Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Which one?
What's up? Good job.
2003 to 2005.
Wow.
So she was an odd one.
Yeah, he's a Marine, so.
Oh, well, thank you for
That's
your
why I'm all up
service.
in your business. You're welcome.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So when I hear another
Well,
veteran,
you good.
Yeah. So when I talk to other veterans, a lot of them don't know about going to the VA and getting their disability benefits.
Absolutely.
So I don't care like where you at in life or where you been. I always tell them go get your disabilities, because a lot of times what happen is the guys that you might have served with, or the girls, guys, or whatever, the military members that you might have served with, you guys might have been through some things together, and a lot of times you still have your network, right?
So do you suffer from what, PTSD?
Yeah, PTSD. But I didn't realize
Let me give you my card.
I didn't realize I had it until I came to Texas, because all the people that I was surrounding myself with were military veterans, and we all were crazy. But none of us knew
Don't say crazy.
But none of us knew we were crazy. No,
Hey, look, it's another word for crazy, okay?
Did you hear what he just said? Everybody that he surrounded himself with had the same issues, and that's what it's like for men.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally, there's
right.
no healing, and no one around you can look at you and say, "Man, you need to tighten up in this area. I need to groom you. I need to create a space for you to be open, for you to get to know who you are."
Exactly.
I asked the question a couple weeks ago on, I think it was the first podcast, like, how do we make friends? It's so hard for men. Yeah, his show too. It's so hard for men to just make friends. Like, you know, I was telling them about a guy I just met, you know, and it's just like, you know, dude, give me a number, man. I mean, you know, it's like
it's that awkward. It's that
it's that awkward feeling.
Oftentimes, you haven't made a friend since like
Childhood.
college. Right?
Yeah.
Like most of your college friends still your friend. But as men, we have to get better at doing one thing better. That's complimenting other men, right? So most conversations, do you notice that women start whenever they meet somebody, it's like, girl, I like your lashes. I like your, I like your, and then that sparks the conversation. And before you know it, they've identified 4 or 5 different times, and they feel like they're on the same wavelength.
But we do the same thing in a way.
Oh,
we meet each other. We
We'll
meet
mug
each
each
other.
other
We
before
be like,
no,
this.
if you
Hey,
look at a
what's
man-
up, dog? Be like, I'm
No.
trying to be like you.
No, you look at a man and you want to say something to a man's looking like this.
Yeah, you're right.
Or you say, man, I like those kicks. You like, thank you, and keep going about this way.
Keep going.
I say the same thing though. I don't understand how you mad before breakfast. Like, you ain't even ate yet.
Because
Like,
we were talking.
Well, a lot of
That's
that
what we
is
were talking. You can't
insecurities.
smile.
yeah, it is.
A lot of that is insecurities. I know
Yes.
y'all don't
Yep,
like
yep,
that
yep.
word.
Nah,
but
we like that word.
I'm gonna
Talk
put that
about
on the table, because men, since we just talking about men, you guys have a lot of insecurities that and issues that are unresolved, and so as a coping mechanism or a defense mechanism, you throw up this wall, like, you know, you're not
Nothing
getting
bothers-
close to me,
yeah,
nothing's
I
bothering me, when you really want to say, hey, be my friend.
Right.
I need a hug.
We're,
you know what I'm
we're
saying?
literally
You know what?
dying on the inside.
Hold on, let me
and we're
tell you
just talking
something.
about it.
When I had first went to Iraq, when I first went over there, the craziest thing happened to me. It's like I didn't even know like I was suffering from anything. The chaplain, I can't remember the name of the unit. The chaplain just walked up to me out of all these Marines and described me like, huh, big ass dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why this dude just grab me like that? He said, you look like they needed it. Just pat me on my way. I'm like, that felt good. You know what I'm saying? I actually needed a hug. You know what I mean? And I didn't recognize that within myself. But it probably took someone who looked like me, probably seen some of the things that I've been through, that said, this brother right here, let me just give him a hug.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's certain things that, no homo though, you know
But
what I'm
that
saying?
helped you.
Yeah, it helped me. Yeah, it helped me.
Like-
It made me like feel to the point where I can just have somebody I can come talk to.
Right.
And that was just off the rip.
It's just a simple hug.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
all
benefited
good.
huge from that. And then, did anybody around you say, I love you?
Nah,
I was
man,
just about to say
that's
that. Oh yeah, I tell people I'm the I love you guy.
Yeah.
I'm the one who would be like, hey man, I love you, dog.
Yeah, he's that.
Like, that's me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, all the time.
For the average man
Yeah,
to
it's weird.
literally look a man in his eyes and say, I love you,
Yeah.
it is like,
Yeah, it's impossible.
That's because
for
they
a lot.
were not
Yeah,
told
we were not
they were
taught to-
loved.
right.
love
Because
you.
our fathers never told us that.
Exactly.
And their
So they
fathers
repeat
probably
that.
never told
I'm
them
that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the one. I love you, dog. You know
Yeah,
what
but
I'm
you
saying?
have to be, and then you can do it. Just, I love the way that you said that.
Right,
Because
yeah.
if you do it like that, what's the other person gonna do now?
Hey man,
You don't
love
give them a
too.
choice.
Yeah.
Literally, you have to embrace that. And then, I mean, the other person on the other side would have to say, you know, I love you, man.
So look, I got a 14-year-old sitting right here. Now I'm trying to, yeah, that's Leader Bennett. I'm trying to make sure that Leader Bennett, matter of fact, get Leader, come on. Oh, well. I'm trying to make sure I keep Leader on the right path.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Leader plays sports. Leader does, you know, whatever he wants, basically. I'm just there for him. You know, I kind of guide him through, and, you know, but sometimes Leader gets depressed. And Dad just don't know what to do about it sometimes. It's like, what's wrong with you? He's like, I don't know. I just feel like everything I do is wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I talk to him. We might have a great conversation, but I'm just not sure if I'm doing enough, you know? And this is why I wanted to do the 3-on-3 basketball tournament that I'm planning.
Right.
I hope you guys are all going to be a part of it because I believe he can learn something from you. And your son can learn something from me.
Right.
Because he's more in tune, he's more inclined to listen to your words than my words sometimes. I mean, a lot of his friends go, man, your dad in the band, your dad do podcast, he's the coolest. And he's like, man.
But seats take time to
You know what I'm saying? Hey, Leader, you want to go and be on stage with me and play with the band? Oh, man, I don't want to do that. Like, he's used to that, and he doesn't even understand that that's foreign to a whole different, you know, ball game. So, you know, like, I just think we have to do more outreach.
Yeah,
you know,
that's really imperative to make sure that you put a support system around your children. It's not just the parents, it's the whole support system. It goes back to a whole village to raise a child. And so getting him introduced to other people and allowing him to build relationships with them, positive people, can be very impactful. We kind of get a little selfish with our kids. We're like, they ain't going over there, they ain't talking to them. But that can be helpful. And so really just allowing him to grow and expand and evaluate himself in other dynamics other than being at home with you is really
Dave, this has been great, man.
Yeah, it was a good show, man. I want to thank Stan for coming out. I want to thank Aqueelah for coming out.
Man.
I want to thank you, Suge, for being in the building. Hey, everybody, look, we got off topic. We're going to bring these two back again and finish this.
I think we need a part two.
But we definitely took care of the kids today. You guys have a great Tuesday. Have a great rest of the week. Keep in mind that we are going to start having Monday Night Football with the Man Cave. Make sure y'all stay tuned. Every Monday night, 8:30 to 9:30, we're going to be watching the game with you. Hopefully you guys will watch the game with us and we can sit and chat live. It's the Man Cave. We out of here, yo.